a co-host just in case it goes in the middle of the meeting.
Yeah.
So shall we give everybody what, say 5 minutes to come in?
Yeah, and then
begin?
maybe in the and James can I'm sure James will do his thing, and yeah, let's give everyone about 5 minutes. We've got quite a few people in already. Very prompt for media people, which is, I don't know if it's encouraging or frightening.
I think the majority of our job has been run on Zoom so much that we know to sign in just a little bit before the actual time.
True.
Hi, Asha.
Hi, James.
Hello, Asha.
Hey.
Hi, Asha.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, Prasha. Hello, Prasha.
Hi, Colleen.
Is KH Kalin?
Is it Colleen? Yeah,
Hello,
he tends to have an interesting, the BC is here.
It has a fancy new abbreviation now, KH.
Yes. It's like James Bond, it's like, what's it going to be next? I guess about a couple more minutes or.
KH has a noble background. And there was a whole recording studio named KH. So there was that. But I might be talking to people who are too young to know anything about that. Where's Peter Ray Blood when you need him?
Worry, we're catching up, Mark. ABC, where the doggies?
And they're downstairs. I'm
Clayton?
Is BC going to do one of his Blair Witch Project transmissions? Where
I didn't realize I
all
haven't.
over the place?
That's what it is. But no, the camera stays put though.
The camera stays put. It's just you and the room moving.
Yes, well, I'm short attention span. I was watching a cricket game at the Oval, and someone told me afterwards they were looking at me from a few rows above, and somebody went to St. Mary's with me, and they said, "You always used to get in your school report, too fidgety in class. You're too fidgety in cricket still."
Well, you see.
I think now we can just apply it as a blanket statement. Too fidgety.
Yes. So we look forward to your fidgets throughout. Okay, we're almost there, actually. I think. What do you think? You think we should? I'm still admitting people, so I'll carry on doing that.
Boy. James in the car again, boy.
I'm a roving journalist.
Roving reporter.
All right, so in the meantime, while Ira continues to admit persons, I'd like to welcome everybody to this general meeting. Follows the resignation of 3 past members of the executive. So as is constitutionally required, we are here to nominate 3 new members or appoint 3 new members who we will introduce you to in just a bit. But firstly, I think it's fitting to begin. It's on a somewhat sad note, a somber note, as we recognize 2 Haitian journalists who were burnt alive in Haiti on Thursday. And we'd also like to recognize some of our past or members who would have departed. Errol Pilgrim being one of them. We had Anthony Harford passing away as well, coming close to the end of the year, as well as we also had Cecily Asun, who was a personal mentor to me as well. So as we begin, I'm just gonna take just about 20 seconds, moment of silence, just to recognize our fallen colleagues, and then we officially begin.
Guys, can you please mute your mics? Can everybody please mute their mics?
All right, thank you everybody for the noisiest moment of silence ever. But what would media people be without breaking a few rules, right? So I'd like to welcome everyone again. I see, many colleagues with us. Hi, Rachel, Lasana Liebert of Wired 868. We've got Priya Bihari, we've got Kijan Haynes, we've got Natasha, we've got even some of our past executive members with us. So I'd like to welcome each and every one of you to this morning's meeting. I give a short synopsis of why the meeting was called, but right now I'm going to hand you over to our president, Ms. Ira Mathur, and she will, give us a full wrap of what to expect, as well as our president's report.
Good morning, everybody. It's great to see everybody here. Forgive me if my eyes roam, they do anyway, but because I'm admitting people as we're carrying on. I want to say that, we are here to appoint or to get the endorsement of everybody on the 3 new executive members, and also to announce the resignation of 3 members of MAT in previous times. Following the resignation of 3 members of the MAT executive on December the 13th, 2021, Asha Javid, Laura Dowridge, and Kalain Hussain from the posts of Vice President, Assistant Secretary, and Treasurer, the MAT executive, after deliberations that included the advice of MAT elders, and we voted in a unanimous quorum to abide by our constitution, by our 35-year-old constitution, and follow its guidelines for the appointment of members to the vacant posts. So we want to say here that the executive remains committed to transparency, democracy, and good governance. And we are guided by elders in the journalism community who have offered support as we reorganize. Still, I would also want to now hand over to MAT Secretary Nicole Romani to introduce the members of the new executive who have very kindly agreed to serve and are already proving to be such an asset to the organization.
Thank you very much, President. Good morning to everyone present here, and Happy New Year. The new executive members are Candice Jackson, the Vice President of MAT, Clayton Clark, Assistant Secretary, and Robert Clark, floor member. Mark Lindesay has agreed to serve as our treasurer. 2 of the new executive members are journalists working in Tobago. We're very happy about that. And the 3rd is a photographer, in keeping with MAT's executive pursuit of inclusion across all practicing arms of local journalism. I hope that you, the membership, welcomes them as we have already. In this short period of service, they are demonstrably vibrant and invaluable members of the executive. So please allow me to introduce you to them. Candice Jackson has been appointed the new VP of MAT. Candice Jackson Nichalan has worked in media for 9 years. She spent 7 of those years with Tobago Channel 5 and is now a producer with Tobago Updates. Candice has a particular interest in tourism, history, environment, and politics. She was born in Sparia, but her family moved to Scarborough when she was 9 and made Tobago their home. Clayton Clark has been appointed as MAT's Assistant Secretary. He began his journalism career in 2005 with I-95.5 FM, and I have worked with Clayton before, a very good friend of mine. He has worked with the Trinidad Guardian, Newsday, Channel 5, KLAS Sports Radio, I hope I'm saying that properly, Clayton, Radio Tambourine, and he has covered assignments in Bahamas, Barbados, Cayman Islands, Dominica, Grenada, Jamaica, St. Vincent, St. Kitts and Nevis, Turks and Caicos, El Salvador, Venezuela, India, and South Korea. New executive floor member Robert Taylor is an award-winning photographer and the current photographic editor of the Trinidad Express newspaper with over 28 years of experience. He loves sports photography and capturing traditional carnival characters. Under pandemic restrictions, new photographers have been among the most excluded during their work at Parliament and state press conferences, and we are hoping to amplify our advocacy on behalf of his colleagues. We'd like to thank Asha, and to Laura and Kaledi for their service to Matt and their commitment to the organization. So again, welcome to the new executive, and we hope that you welcome them warmly as we have. Thank you very much. I now hand back over to James.
All right, thanks so much, Nix. And I felt for a moment I was listening to the TV6 News. It said that you would see some of the best voices around. Plug up thank you so much, Nicole. And I was listening as well. As you introduced some of the new members, and quite a few of them have sport-related backgrounds. I promise I didn't have anything to do with that. it was all coincidental as well. All right, so we have been introduced to the new members. It is time now to hear from our new treasurer, as Mark Lindsay has been promoted, so to speak. He's left me on the floor all by myself. He's been promoted to the role of treasurer. He's going to give us an update with regards to a treasurer's report, as well as tell us about some of the work that has been happening on the website. I must say, has been very, very active in recent times. So I introduce Mark Lindsay.
Yeah, thank you, James. I don't see it so much as a promotion as a lateral move, because the hard work happens across the board, so to speak. There's not much to report from the treasurer's perspective. The handover from the previous executive is still in progress. So we've had no access to the bank accounts. So that means that we have spent none of Matt's financial resources to date. As of the bank statements in our possession, the Matt account has a balance of $122,885.31, but I expect that was as of September the 29th, I believe, and that would have incremented upward slightly as a result of interest earnings. There would have been no further revenue inflows after the current executive took office, because the membership approved our strategy of raising membership numbers by waiving fees. That period, of course, has ended. The experiment did boost numbers and ended on January the 3rd. We have a current mix of members, which blends those who joined during the no-fee trial period and those who paid for a year of membership. So it was decided to make all current members valid until December the 31st, 2022, except for, I believe, one person, I think that was Laura, who paid for 2 years. So we'll acknowledge that as a 2-year membership, after which fees for current members will be due. So as of December the 31st, 2022, all members will proceed as having been paid up for that duration. And yes, you can join for more than 1 year if you're so inclined. Samson, can we turn off the mic? We have a lot of activity going on in the background there. All right. Yura, I think you can mute Samson's microphone.
I
think if you go to participants, I think you should be able to mute as the convener of the call. Excellent. Great. Not a problem. We overlook these things in the course of getting things done.
Yes.
So the executive was also moved to digitize the paper records that we received from the previous executive at the start of our term of office. These scanned documents run from 1987 to 2005. The documents that were retained between 1995 and 1997 are proved to be the most comprehensive, with the other years varying widely in terms of document retention. We did not scan blank checkbooks, bank statements, and the financial records of 2 carnival records. So I don't know, we can always refer to them if we ever decide to have a carnival fete, whenever we ever have a carnival fete ever again. The website of the Media Association went live on October the 3rd, 2022. This is not strictly treasurer's business. This is kind of what I was doing as a floor member. In the first 3 months, we reported 5,024 views, which were delivered to 3,739 visitors. The executive continues to view this medium as an opportunity to not only communicate with the membership and the wider civil community, but as a medium which allows us to do so with transparency. We encourage members to consider how they might contribute to its development. In terms of the finances of its production, I am the webmaster. I paid for the domain and I'm hosting it on the service that I use for my other websites, so it constitutes no current cost to the association. So that wraps up my report, and I'll take you back to Ira for anything else that she needs to add to the meeting. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. And just in case you're wondering, no, he's not an air traffic controller, although his setup, kind of reminds us of one. But thank you, Mark, for a very comprehensive report. Mark, I'd like to welcome some of the folks that just joined us in the meeting. I saw that our friends in Tobago are here. We've got Tobago Channel 5 with us. Thank you so much for joining. We've also got Junior Let with us. Kino Swamba. I saw Judy Raymond join as well. Good morning. Elizabeth Williams. Andrea, how are you doing, Andrea? Good to have you with us, as well as Samson Anthem. So, just to welcome some of the members who would have just joined us. Reminder of what this meeting is about. This morning is where we, pretty much our year in review, so to speak, as well as we're here to appoint 3 new members after following the resignation of 3 past members of the executive. And I know you're quite eager to hear from the president. We've only been here just about, 3 months, but we've been quite busy. We have been quite busy. We have been hard at work, and we're excited to share some of the progress that we've made as a new executive. And to do that, I'm going to invite our president, Ms. Ira Matur, to give us a report.
Thank you so much, James. You always make everything seem easy and, conversational and friendly. And I don't know how we would do these meetings without you. Welcome to everybody once again. As James said, we're here to introduce our new executive, and we have. They've already been with us for over 2 weeks, and already they're showing a great commitment and great interest, and you'll be happy to know that the Fourth Estate is in good hands. We do regret the departure of 3 of the executive members, and I personally want to thank them on behalf of the executive and of Matt for their tremendous contribution to Matt. Very quickly, I'm going to do a brief kind of roundup of what we've done over the last 3 months. We've kept you up to date on our WhatsApp chat and on the website, so it's a bit of a recap. The first thing is membership outreach. On October the 2nd, 2021, we assumed responsibility for a MAT, which was strong on the Fourth Estate, but had very little engagement. The fraternity was struggling in the pandemic and basically disinterested in joining MAT. We understood that if we wanted a more robust Fourth Estate, it was vital to create a cohesive professional fraternity, including freelance workers, those working in silos, and formerly excluded media workers who have a constitutional place in this organization. On October the 2nd, we asked for 3 months to grow the membership without requiring fees to join. Even before the nomination, the membership supported this, and since then the mailing list has grown from about 30 to over 180 members. We're still collating and getting that registry together. Silos have been merged, and the registry is happening, still under construction, of all members, and of course that remains confidential and is not given out to the public. Bloggers and freelancers, journalists without institutional support joined. We welcome photographers and technical people, as well as radio personalities. Just 10% of our membership are associate members, and our constitution allows them to be part of our association. And I just wanted to remind people of that. I'm sorry, there's somebody else in the waiting room, and I have just admitted an N to the waiting room. The free online form ended on January the 3rd, and new members will be asked to pay the existing fee of $75 plus the new members fee of $60. All membership renewals online, the free renewals will be due on the 3rd of January in 2023. Moving on to Fourth Estate issues, on the big picture issues, We want to assure our membership that the Cybercrime Bill, the Whistleblower Protection Act, the Data Protection Act, and the Broadcast Code, which could have a chilling effect on press freedom and free expression online if adopted, have not been adopted, and we are keeping a close eye on them. We've also reached out to the Law Association to help us unpack some of these bills and to partner with us to ensure that we have maximum security as the Fourth Estate. Moving on to also on Fourth Estate issues, the access for journalists. Immediately before the elections, there was, the last elections, there was concerns over the limits on the number of media allowed in the parliament to cover the budget, and general concerns about the accessibility to government information, especially in a pandemic. So the first day we took office, we wrote to the Speaker and got a media pool photographer into Parliament to cover the budget. It was not ideal, but we opened the door to more access. The question of access came up again on December the 10th. Members of the media were not allowed inside either of the swearing-in events or sitting of the Assembly for new officers of the Tobago House of Assembly. Matt wrote to the President's House to express our concern over the dramatic limitations placed on the media, and particularly the photographers. On that day, we got permission to get a photographer in, but they were very dogged about not allowing that photographer in without a jacket, and unfortunately, we did not get any journalist representation there. We hope that Robert Taylor's addition to the executive will lead to more representation across government and related platforms for greater access to photographers and media in general in the pandemic. Earlier on, our membership also expressed concerns about the lack of access to the Ministry of Health press conferences on COVID-19, citing both limited time and lack of entry at the press conferences for freelance journalists and digital media. Matt raised these concerns with the Minister of Health and the CMO, who agreed subsequently to include weekly questions from within the membership. We've been collating and sending questions every week for over 2 months, I think it is, and that's been going fairly well. But further complaints from members on the restrictive COVID-19 format, the actual press conference format, Matt wrote to the Minister of Health for additional access and transparency regarding COVID-19 infections and deaths. The Minister of Health responded to Matt with a phone call to myself, revealing that based on our intervention, the ministry, I'm just going to, forgive me, I'm going to just admit Francesca, and I'm going to continue. Yes. Hi, Fran. Yes, so I was saying the Ministry of Health responded to Matt with a phone call, revealing that based on our interventions, the ministry has limited the speaking time and speakers of ministry officials, leaving up to 45 minutes longer for journalists to ask questions and follow-up questions. He also pointed us to the email of Candice Alcantara, who's the manager of corporate communications, who has assured us the questions will be dealt with promptly. Let's see how that works out. And we also believe our call for greater information has contributed to further transparency, including the current Ministry of Health boards showing the number of vaccination status and the comorbidity among those who died from COVID. I'm just going to admit, Alina, I admit that this is not ideal, but here we go. Moving on, we want to, the next topic is honoring media workers. We recognize, this has been a terrible time for media workers, frontline workers, plus suffering all the stuff that people in the population are suffering from, including ill health and some media workers have also been laid off. It's been a very, very tough time, and really it is to the credit of all our fraternity that, the job has been done day after day, and media workers have continued to be on the front line before vaccinations, and continue to do the work. So we honored 2 photographers at the Express, Chief Photographer Robert Taylor and Ishmael Salandi, for the collaborative coverage of the budget in a pandemic. And even as we honored them, we recognized they could not have contributed photographs without the heads of photography at The Guardian, Newsday, and Express, and of course the decisions of the editors-in-chief of Newsday, Guardian, and Express. The TTPBA, we've met with the Trinidad and Tobago Publishers and Broadcasters Association several times to inveigle them to put their complaints process into place, because it hasn't been as active as we would have liked. And that is happening, we're happy to report. As is not unexpected, there's been various complaints about the practice of journalism in Trinidad and Tobago on November 22nd, following allegedly defamatory statements made by a radio announcer and the government's demand for a copy of the program. Matt issued a statement recognizing that media as the fourth estate and a public accountability watchdog is mandated to ensure that the government—
Yeah, no, and even me again, be very careful.
Can we please? So I should mute everybody. Okay. So Matt issued a statement recognizing that media as the fourth estate and public accountability watchdog is mandated to ensure that the government is held to account and the public's business is conducted transparently and public records are available to all. And we also reminded colleagues of these rights, that we must remain vigilant both within and without our profession to ensure that we self-regulate to abide by the same high standards we expect of others when we engage with other people. Similarly, Matt issued a statement one day after the Prime Minister criticized Sunday Express for a story on vaccines, and there were criticisms from the St. Augustine Medical Lab and the Chinese Embassy. But once again, Matt underscored that our professional organization has no legal or constitutional jurisdiction over individual newsrooms and their reporters, who are accountable to their editors and respective media houses positioned to benefit from upholding the highest professional standards. And once again, on both occasions, we reminded the public that regarding complaints against media houses, the formal process is to file a complaint with the NCC, which is an independent body created but not managed by the TT Publishers and Broadcasters Association. On to training, and I promise I'm not going to be too much longer. We've had 2 training sessions, both of which were exceptionally well attended. On Saturday, October the 30th, we held a panel discussion on media coverage of COVID-19 with the president of the Medical Association, Dr. Vishy Bihari, communications consultants and former editor of the Guardian newspaper, Nicole Duke Westfield, and head of News 7, Kejan Haynes. The session was themed covering COVID-19, how TT Media covered the pandemic. And I'm not alone in saying that I think it went very well and we got some coverage out of it. And we hope to continue training along that line with lots of engagement amidst ourselves. On November the 27th, Mark Lindsay, our current treasurer, moderated a discussion with journalists who put their journalism online and built new brands for today's audiences. And he held this panel discussion, well, Matt did, establishing a journalism presence online featuring TT Weather Center's Kalain Hussain, our previous treasurer, Wired 868's Lizana Libud, and AZP's News Priya Bihari. And we welcome all ideas from the membership on further panel discussions with an active partnership with the law and medical associations. Very finally, I want to talk about health and support. A study conducted by the International Federation of Journalists on global journalism in the current COVID-19 era last year polled 1,300 frontline journalists in 77 countries and found the following. 1, nearly every freelance journalist has lost revenue or work opportunities. 2, more than half of all journalists are suffering from stress and anxiety. 3, more than a quarter lack essential equipment to enable them to work safely from home, while 1 in 4 lack any protective equipment to work on the field. Many journalists have been arrested, faced lawsuit or assaulted, and we saw what happened recently in Haiti as well. Journalists continue to be under threat. More than a third of journalists have shifted their focus to covering COVID-19 related stories exclusively. And of course, that means other areas have been neglected. I'm going to admit Ayana Carter before I kind of wrap up. Hi, Ayana. And on October the 2nd, when this executive and came into being, Matt recognized that many freelance journalists are unsupported, and we pledged to deliver a health plan and a rewards card for journalists, not unlike the Law Association. This plan has been currently placed on the back burner, and we hope to revive it soon once all policy papers are in place. The association also remains very concerned about COVID-19 transmission, particularly the highly infectious Omicron variant. Judy Raymond is listening, and I know I got it wrong, and encourages practitioners to use the best possible protective wear during this time. On December 28th, after a donation of 4,000 N95 masks to media by Seva TT, Matt distributed a total of 3,975 masks to over 250 practitioners in some 25 media houses across platforms. And the entire counting is on our website. Well, and I think, well, that's it for me. I'm sure you're tired of hearing of my voice, and I would now like to hand back to James, who will continue to conduct the meeting.
Thanks very much, Ira. And so you've heard the report from our president, and I'm sure everybody's excited to perhaps ask some questions and comments that I will open up the floor just before we wrap up. But before that, I think it's fitting now to introduce you to some of the new executive members. You've heard about them, and I think it's time now to get a glimpse of who they are, and just allow them, 30 seconds to 1 minute to just introduce themselves. I'm going to start with our new vice president. Her name is Candice Jackson. She worked formerly at Tobago Channel 5, and she's now a producer at Tobago Update. So I'm going to just introduce Candice and allow her just a minute just to introduce herself really quickly.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Of course, I am Candice Jackson, and I would just like to say that I am happy to be a part of the team. I know that Matt has tried a number of times to get me on the executive, but they finally succeeded now. But I am pleased, and I'm happy to really work and offer my services to you all.
It's really good to know Candice, and it's great to have you on board, and great to have such a wonderful Tobago presence as well. I think Tobago needs a bigger boost than it's had previously.
Well, speaking about Tobago, though, we've got another Tobagonian on the executive. He is the new assistant treasurer. He has worked in the sporting field quite a number of years. Started off at I-95. He's worked at the Trinidad Guardian, and he's worked freelance all over the Caribbean. Clayton Clark is our new assistant treasurer, and I'd invite him to say a few words as well and introduce himself.
Yes, good morning. Thank you, James, and good morning to everyone at the meeting. Well, it's a pleasure being asked to serve, and I've accepted to serve, and I just, haven't started media in Tobago. I'm glad that I'm here in Tobago and I can lend that gap, help to bridge the gap between Trinidad and Tobago. And some of the issues is not just media, but there are so many issues in terms of collaborating between Trinidad and Tobago. Is that dynamic is not just a one-way, and I think it is important to highlight not just the challenges, but the differences in covering, working in Tobago. Oh God, please excuse me. Please excuse the noise in the background. Right, so I'm glad hold 1 minute, let me let this noise pass. All right, hello, right. So as I said, having worked in Trinidad, I'm glad that I can lend that of understanding working on both islands, and hopefully it would benefit journalism across the country. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Clayton, so I'm going to give you some time to run away from that dog that I heard running you down just now there. That is Clayton Clark, our new assistant treasurer. And last but not least, he's a personal friend of mine. He's the
assistant secretary, sir.
editor,
Assistant secretary
at the Trinidad Express. He also helped me, found the media touring team, football touring team, which has been in existence for 19 years or so, and he's now part of the MAT executive as an executive member, Mr. Robert Taylor. Just going to invite him to introduce himself.
Hi, good morning all. Thank you, James, for welcoming me. And that seems like almost a distant memory now in terms of the media football team, thanks to COVID. Well, I'm happy to be a member, an executive member of MAT now. I'm hoping to be of benefit to everyone, but particularly the photographers and videographers. Most times, of course, we operate behind the cameras, but generally speaking, we tend to face the brunt of some of the rules and regulations that is applied to coverage of certain events. So hopefully with me being a photographer for a number of years, I can be of some benefit in terms of aiding my fellow colleagues in the profession in terms of greater access throughout my term and moving forward. So thank you all.
Thanks so much, Robert. All right, so we have been introduced. We're no longer strangers. And, since we're no longer strangers, we're going to open up the floor for any questions or discussions that you'd like to have as members. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start, I'm on my phone, so I don't know if it works the same way. I'm going to ask you to just put that thumbs up or one of those hands up thingies. And once I see it, I will, direct the question. Of course, we've got the President, Ira Matu, who will answer, most of the questions. So just going to look around real quickly, scanning here. All right. You can also put it in the chat as well if you've got a question that you'd like to ask as a member. That's the time where we are at now. We've opened up the floor. And just going to allow you, if anyone sees someone who has a hand up, because I'm scrolling right now and there's so many of you all. Let me see. I am looking. There we go. All right. So Sheldon Lane is going to ask you the first question. So let's invite Sheldon to have a question heard.
Hi, good night. Hi, to the media practitioners. My name is Sheldon Lee. I do PR services for different artists. I also was a columnist for Trinidad Guardian, and presently I'm working for PSC, and also I am transitioning to Express to write for them as well. I have two suggestions, not really a question. It's just really to improve and getting to know our membership more, because seeing that we work in the same industry, it's only fitting that we know each other. So I said, the first suggestion is a birthday club mention. Reason being, when you work media, we put ourselves in the back burner basically because the story take prestige in front of us. And I think if we are a media association, we need to really mention, either on our social media or wherever you see fit, so we could just greet. Remember, everything in life is about having love, mutual respect, and so forth as that. So the club would be something that we should put to the table. I'm hoping that the executive take up that recommendation. Also, the second one I want to note is profile members write-up. Basically, just like, some of you, I am not quite sure who you all are, and I am struggling to know who you all are. And basically, it's like the post on our site, on social media, if it's like a write-up in the sense that can state who you work for and history of who you are, a bio or whatever, so we get to know our members, get to know who we all are, so we can be more in a better position to harmonize and sync with each other. I hope you all take up these suggestions, because I think in life, it's all about networking and building friendship. See that we're in the same industry, and we have to fight for each other, we have to lobby for each other. So in conclusion, the club is, I think it should be something that we should look at. Also a profile member write-up, where we're getting to know each other and know what we are about and what our capabilities are. That's just my 2 cents.
I've muted myself. Thank you so much, Sheldon. It's a great idea. It really, I mean, given the amount of work that we regularly do and daily do on the Fourth Estate, as well as the admin, it doesn't really fall under the ambit of MAT. But you are very welcome as a member of MAT to start something and to invite people to come on. Regarding your ideas of us getting to know each other, I believe that Robert Robert, I think you brought this up in a kind of way in terms of remembering some of our journalists through photographs. And that's a great way of remembering people who've gone. But also it's not a bad idea to profile various journalists. And we asked you before and we ask you again, if you've got comments or you want to do a column on something, we've got a very active website led by Mark. And we'd love you to be part of it. The idea of profiling somebody every now and then is great. And perhaps if somebody could nominate themselves to do that or to lead that up and to edit that, because that's going to take some work, we'd be happy for the help. I'm going to ask Mark and Robert to say something about that as well. Yeah, and Rachel has suggested that we could all send in blurbs, and actually it might not be a bad idea if everybody sent in blurbs and a photograph, and the website is big enough to handle that. I don't know what Mark thinks of this. And
actually, it's two different things. One of them is that I know Clayton was interested in doing write-ups about veterans in the community. So that was something I'd given him, clear go ahead, please feel free. I'm hoping that Mr. Lane's enthusiasm for the birthday club translates into leadership in the role, and we're happy to support that, as the president pointed out. The blurbs could be manifested in a community that would be built into the website. It's something I've been exploring because there are add-ons to the WordPress platform that you can use for building communities. But I do need to confer with some people who have more experience in the area to find out how we could organize that. I'm acknowledging the fact that building a community on the website would probably be replicating some of the things that we're doing on WhatsApp and in other media, but I think there is value in having a space that we control. So that's something that I'm looking into.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Lane, for that suggestion. I'm certainly in favor of the birthday club. Well, quite frankly, because my birthday is next month, if anybody's wondering, I want to get me any gifts, that's fine. But I certainly, I know Rachel said that Leo season is going to be lit. For those of us over a certain age, it means that it's going to be great. That's what lit means. It's going to be great. All right. I see Joanne smiling there. She understood the lingo. All right. So, we're still going to open it up. I've got just about, 5 minutes more for questions, maybe, as we say goodbye to BC. Thanks for passing through. So I'm going to take some more questions. And BC, does you have a question there?
I think BC said he's gone for a while, but he'll be back. So we could probably go on for a little bit longer. So. Yeah.
All right. So we are going to go to Leo season. I'm speaking, of course, of Rachel Espini, who has a question. So I'm going to invite her now to put that forward.
Hey all, Happy New Year. Merry late Christmas. I'm wondering, can we have like a social night? Like a Zoom social once a month, something where it's not a general meeting, there's nothing formal, we can all come with our mics off, mics on, videos on, and just see each other face to face and get to know each other. I say this because as I've been in my hobbit hole for the past 2 years in work isolation, it is making me realize how the different platforms interface with each other. So something like WhatsApp and Facebook is mostly text-based and avatar-based, which means that we don't actually get to see the humanity in each other. Nor do we get to hear tone, voice, see the face, get to know each other properly. It's just a blurb, really. So if we have like once a month, like the last Saturday every month or something, where we have 2-3 hours, we come, we talk, we bring our own drinks. We have it on Zoom, most importantly, because I'm a part of this bi-weekly line where we just come, Chinese from all over the world, and we just come and we talk. And for the only time where I don't feel of Zoom fatigue and I don't feel like there's a problem with the technology affecting my body. And like, because as media people, we don't pay attention to mental health or physical health at all. Something like that could actually help build the community better. And yes, I would be able to help with that.
Thank you. Well, your comment is noted, your suggestion is noted as well, and I'm sure it's something that we certainly will take note of and discuss in our next executive meeting. I see Vinda, and then I think Joanne has a question, so I'm going to read Vinda's question first. He's the treasurer from the previous executive. Thanks for being here, Vinda. He said he will reach out to Mark to ensure that there's access to the accounts, and he's working now. So he has to run. Thanks, Vinda, for passing through. All right, I know Joanne has a suggestion or a question, and Joanne, the floor is all yours.
Actually, no, James, sorry, and hi, everyone. I may have just probably when I was going to read, I used my hand incorrectly, but as you've given me the floor, I just, maybe what I can do is ask about, you know, I think it popped up somewhere in the chat about subcommittees and that kind of thing that could, it wasn't necessarily articulated. I think it was in relation to something and somebody suggested Andy Johnson on something. I don't remember the full context now, but the idea of distribution of labor and getting things done, meaning that if there were subcommittees, then there could be different things. So I don't know if that's already in existence. And if not, if that's something that we might find useful in terms of being able to broaden the inputs and the contributions of people. And the other comment I just want to make very quickly is, I mean, it's not meant to be sensitive because I'm not about it, but we talk about the journalists all the time, and not everybody in the group is a journalist, you know. So I just threw it out. I mean, I'm neither here nor there in terms of being piqued one way or the other, but just the fact that there may be other people who are not practicing journalists in the sense of the word in which people sort of the connotation. So James, thank you. I didn't put my hand up, but in as much as you gave me the floor, thanks.
Well, thank you so much. You gave us a great opportunity to hear that lovely voice. I've never heard your voice before, but your speaking voice is a really nice voice, and maybe you should consider television or radio as a mainstay, you know. So I'm going to be chairing you in that department. And with regard to your question, I'm going to pass it across to Ira so she can respond.
Joanne, all your remarks were noted, and I've known you for a long time, and I know what an excellent broadcaster you are, and also your wide intellectual knowledge and historical knowledge and interest in this country at so many levels, the historical, the sociological, and obviously your contribution, you have contributed to journalism, although you have not been, you know, strictly operating as one. You've been a presenter. A lot of people, you know, on our group are also presenters. So that's one thing, you know, associate members are more than welcome. They're not voting members, but they've always been welcome. And your contribution is always very well, you know, respected and considered. Before I go on though, I'm seeing that Judy Raymond has a question, so I'm going to give the floor over to her.
Hi, Happy New Year, everyone. I was just wondering, Mark had made mention of digitizing the archive. I was just wondering where that is going to be visible. Is it going to be accessible to everyone? And I was also wondering about the physical archive as well, where that can be kept, because in the past, there was only the physical archive, and it was always a problem when there was a handover from one executive to another as to where it was, who had it, how to get it, where it should live. and all of those things. If those things are to be digitized in a consistent way going forward, and again, that is something that has to be sorted out, then yeah, where online that can be accessed. I think everybody should be aware of that. That's it.
Yeah. Okay, Judy. It's actually a 250 megabyte folder right now. It's all PDFs. It is possible to host it on the website, but it might be a bit unwieldy. I need to think about that for a bit. We had discussed making it available to past presidents for their reference if they needed to access it as a resource, but having it available to the wider membership is a value proposition. I just need to think about how to organize that in a way that it remains a resource, but doesn't end up dragging the website as it is. So yes, your comments are taken on board, and it's definitely something I'll think through. We have been posting PDFs as references to specific posts on the website, but a central repository is something that probably has value, and I need to think through exactly how we work that out. So thanks for the comment.
Thanks, Mark. And Joanne, I must ask you to forgive my naivety. What I really should have said is that I would like to see more of you on broadcast media. So we'd like to hear more of that voice. All right. So I don't think that we have any more questions. And in the interest of being concise, I'm going to allow probably Ira to have some closing words, and then, we end this meeting.
Sure. I think Andy has been trying to get into the chat, but I don't know if somebody else can send him the link. I just sent him the link. Josanne, James, I hope you have a job for Josanna. Whenever I think of Josanne's voice, I think of kind of like a liquid chocolate. She's the person I encountered when I began to. She's got a very chocolatey voice. I think in terms of closing remarks, I want to remind everybody that we are in a pandemic. And first of all, before we can try to do anything else, be a strong fourth estate, somehow this fraternity has been as magic as I sometimes see this country, that no matter what things are in the way, what the hurdles are, everybody shows up, everybody does their work. And I think somebody was remarking to me the other day that a lot of our journalists die after 50 and often poor and often alone. That's because I think the journalism is something that's almost in our DNA. We love it. We are the voice of the people. We're the mirror of the country. We're the watchdogs of the government. And so in this time, I would like to appeal to everybody, let's look out for each other, because we have enough people on the outside who are constantly criticizing us, who are always ready to pounce on us and talk about our shoddy work, when in fact, it's been quite the opposite. And the Fourth Estate, as you know, is a kind of watchdog, not just of government, but it's for all institutions. So first of all, I'm going to say to everybody, let's look out for each other. And that does not mean us being soft. It just means it's really important for us to be kind. And secondly, I hope that when we do get our act together, and we hope to do that soon within the next 3 months for the health plan, that everybody responds. We'd like to make it available to not just journalists, but associate members and all their families and all journalist families, because part of our job is to ensure that we have our seatbelts on and all our people are well taken care of. So I would say to everybody, let's take care of one another. And I also want to say that the Fourth Estate is in very, very strong hands. We operate as an executive, yes, but we constantly reach out to people who have institutional and historical memory. And we are very, very aware of what the lines are and where we need to draw the lines and where we need to defend ourselves, and we will continue to do so. And I guess the point I'm trying to make is, just because I'm saying let's be kind, let's be good to one another, does not preclude us being strong. The other point I wanted to make is that I think that Jozan had actually raised this point and we hadn't completely dealt with that. And that was the question of subcommittees. And that's very much part of what we want to do, because this is not about being top heavy and 6 people. This is about all of us, so that, we are actively asking for that participation, so that, if Trelton says, he wants to do the birthday club, he's very welcome to head it up. And Jozan, we would love you to be part of a subcommittee in whatever areas, because there's so many things that we still need to address. We need to be in much closer contact with the Law Association and the police, the police and many other institutions across the country. And we need help. It's just the 6 of us and we can't do it all alone. So basically on that note, unless anybody has any more questions, once again, welcome to the new members of the executive. Thank you to the members of the executive who served, and thank you all for attending and being so engaged and part of MAT.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I know Jozan would like to have a few words. I'm not sure if she's scratching her head this time again. Was I right that you asked me a question?
No, actually, I was just going to say that what I did was I called Andy because he's having so much trouble. So I just put him on my phone. So he's on speaker on my phone. I didn't know if he wanted to say anything. Ira, thank you very much. I would really love to be able to participate in terms of building intellectual rigor and knowledge, and what I think is a bit of mentoring as well. I accept the compliments about the voice, but I've long gone past that. I think that it's really about intellect, and I've spent most of my adult life in development issues on the region. So I just wanted to put that in there, but thank you for the compliment. Andy, I have this, all right, so he's here.
Okay, well, after Andy, Judy would like to say something. So Andy, welcome in this roundabout way. I sent you the link several times, so I don't know what happened. Welcome, Andy. Oh, unmute. Jozan, unmute.
Right, go ahead.
Right.
Go ahead, Andy.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Yes, they can now, yeah.
All right. Yeah, so I was saying that I had the link. I got up at 10:30 and been trying to get on since then, but it's just not, I transfer it to my laptop, and normally, by that time you just have to put in the passcode. Well, I couldn't exactly figure out what the passcode is from the link, from the stuff that is on the link. But I tried everything possible and it wasn't happening, and so I missed everything.
Sorry, but this is going to be recorded, and it is recorded, and it will be available as well, Andy. Do you have anything you'd like to say, comments, questions?
Well, not particularly, because so like I said, I couldn't follow the discussions at all, so I don't have anything virgin that I want to put on the table.
Well, I just want to add, Andy, that I saw that you were recommended. I think it was by Suniti when we just finished a conversation about subcommittees and building some capacity outside of the, if you want, the sort of administrative and things that the MAT executive would do, and the importance of broadening the remit and doing some other kinds of interesting things, particularly as the world of media and journalism has now gone beyond sort of the terrestrial and or traditional newspapers and so, but the whole online and multimedia world and that kind of thing. And there's so many issues as well that don't really get, the deep dive doesn't necessarily happen in the day-to-day cover, the way that the media operates here, and that maybe that sort of educational, if you will, or what I like to think about is thought leadership things from time to time, which I think can really benefit all of us and promote healthy debate even within and amongst the community, So, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I put you on the spot there.
Well, with regard to what? You said you began by saying that you said I was nominated for something, and you continued that point for what?
something about, what was it, Ira? Was it like an
It was about Andy being a very active part of, if we have subcommittees, we want to draw on, we have several, a lot of previous presidents here, a lot of people with a lot of information and of course, just knowledge from years of working as journalists. And Andy, we'd love you to be we'd love to be able to call on you to help us to build this capacity. I know that I think Lennox is here, but Judy said that she'd like to say a little something. So after Judy speaks, maybe Lennox would like to say a couple of words.
Yeah, hi again, everybody. This doesn't quite fit into the Matt Birthday Club, but in the spirit of the Birthday Club, I mean, I know a lot of you would know them, but you might not know this, that 2 Newsday reporters, Ryan Hamilton Davis and Jensen Lavend, became daddies yesterday. Ryan for the first time and Jensen for the second. Ryan has a healthy son and Jensen has a healthy daughter. So I just wanted to say congrats. And if any of you wanted to share your congratulations, you might like to know that too.
Well, we definitely want to share congratulations because I mean, good news at this time is just like, it's like gold. And to be new fathers at this time, it is amazing and difficult and terrible and wonderful times. We congratulate them and the mummies and we wish the babies a wonderful life. Thanks for letting us know, Judy. Please convey our many congratulations to them. I don't know if Lenny wants to say anything.
Just to say that I'm glad finally to get on. I started late, I overslept. So I missed all that went on before. I I have no new family members to welcome. I've gone past that. All my offspring are grown and grown up about here, living in Canada, Toronto, where I am right now. So I'm sorry I wasn't able to get on before, but I slept late and then I had trouble trying to get Safari to agree to let me on or some damn thing like that.
Well, I'm glad Safari obliged.
Yeah.
I just want to ask everybody, since there are a few of us here, is everybody happy about the idea? I like the idea of a social once a month, where we can also discuss some of the, we can discuss some things freely without actually having an agenda. So we have the social, we can call out some birthdays, we can speak of the issues that bother us. And that's also feeds in very well to the executive on how we can move forward in terms of our training and other ideas of how to move forward as an executive. Is everybody here quite happy about bringing your own bottle or glass of wine and just hanging out once a month?
So how are we doing that in person?
No. For now, just on this, but just to get to know each other a little bit better. Is everybody good with that? If we send out a notice with and a Zoom line, as a young Rachel says, yes. Is everybody up for that? You can just raise your hand so we know one time. Yeah, okay, so a lot of us are in. Okay, that's me and Lenny, we're gonna be live. And okay, Jermaine. So, okay, well, I think that on that note, if there's nothing for anybody else to say, okay, Clayton says he's for that as well. So hopefully we can just start it and people can come on if they feel like it. I think it's great to get to know one another as human beings rather than just journalists. And on that note, I'd like to hand over to James. I don't know to close out. Is James here? Yes.
To thank everybody for being a part of this meeting. We want to welcome again our new executive, and we'd also like to thank the past executive, Asha, Colleen, and Laura for their service. We hope that you continue to support Matt. In supporting Matt, you support yourself. Utilize chat, continue to utilize the chat as you have been doing to hear your concerns, your suggestions, and think of us as your members of parliament. We're here to represent you. So feel free to reach out to any one of us with any suggestions or ideas that you may have, and we'll bring it up in our executive meetings, and hopefully we can streamline and have them serving you in the long run. All right, so I'd like to thank everybody. I know we've kept you here on your Saturday. You've got 20 minutes to head to the beach if that's what your plans were, and to come back. But do have a wonderful afternoon, and we hope to see and hear from you very soon. Thank you, everybody. Have a good day.
Okay.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you very much, James.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. You all take care.
Okay. Pleasure being here. Have a wonderful Saturday. It's a sunny Saturday here in downtown Scarborough, Tobago.
Sounds like it's on radio.
All right.
Roseanne?
I'm actually heading to
Uh,
Tobago.
Sorry.
Roseanne?
Yeah,
Just
hi.
now, just now.
Okay,
Yeah.
bye.
Robert Taylor found
Yeah, I was just reading it.
the comment there. So I forwarded it to both you and Andy. So you
Right.
have a point of mutual reference for what was being discussed.
Okay, great. Yeah, I think that's in sync with what I was thinking
Yeah.
about. But there's so many things come up in the chat that sometimes you forget the thread. Yeah.
It's useful to have a young boy who could scroll through the chat quick.
Yeah. Who's a young boy, by the way?
Robert Taylor. No, Robert Taylor. Robert Taylor.
Oh, I thought you were talking
sorry,
about. I
can't
thought he
claim
was
that
talking
count
about
again.
himself.
No, I
Yeah,
can't
he
claim
was,
that
don't worry,
count
he
at
was
all.
talking about himself.
No. I'm not so brave. I'm not so brave.
Okay. All right. No, that's
Wonderful
cool.
people. Yeah, so if as right, so thank you and
Okay.
see you soon.
All right. Bye,
Okay.
everybody. Bye-bye.
All right, great. Thanks.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.